Welcome to our new series, Finding Your Atom. I'm very excited to be here again with my friend and co-host, Amrita Sen. And we are here talking about what makes us special. Finding your atom is as well about finding what is inner that makes us who we are. And as well something that can actually makes us connect with our passion, our dreams, our bubbles, but as well with our most uniqueness. And during this series, we've been interviewing global personalities that we love. Some of them are our friends. Some of them are people that we admire a lot. Not everyone, people we admire. But what is interesting here is that we are trying to understand what makes them move. What are their dreams? What are their special passion? Because they're all high achievers, people that achieve exceptional results worldwide, but as well people that have a strong sense of humanity and a strong sense of creativity. That is what we're trying to do here with Find Your Atom in this series and this show that we are growing step by step, and you're going to see a lot of things from us happening as we go. So today we have with us Mark Zunino, and Mark has a fantastic profile. I'll just go top level and then I'll pass the rest of the energy to Amrita. But I think Mark is recognized as one of the Beverly Hills leading fashion designers for Hollywood A-list celebrities and the social global elite. And one of the things that he has in his design is the focus and ability to accentuate a woman's best features through detailed construction and design. And he has this passion of making beautiful and as well powerful statements in terms of design and in terms as well all the different areas that make lifestyle and especially the big events of the world. So I won't say more because you can find a lot of things about him and you can read for probably 20 minutes about all the achievements and the different personalities that he's been working, from Gwyneth Paltrow to Demi Moore, Al Berry, and Angelina Jolie. But I think what is important here is that we have the human that is a wonderful person. And of course, Amrita has a wonderful relationship with him. So I'll pass the word to Amrita because the idea here is finding your atom. Mark, and welcome to our series.
Thank you so much.
Well, I am delighted to introduce my friend, my partner, my creative and business partner, Mark Zunino. And I'm going to start this off with two very distinct questions for you, Mark, okay? Mm-hmm. So it's no secret that you work with extraordinary women, mainly some men, but extraordinary women who have a lot of energy and ego in a good way around them, right?
Yes.
And what I've noticed about you, the minute I met you, I noticed how grounded you are as a function of working with these big personalities and giving them a sense of beauty. So I want to talk specifically about your techniques on grounding yourself, number one. Number two is, while you're doing that and you're so in the tsunami of celebrity and award shows and fabric and all that stuff, how did you have the mental space to then approach me about this amazing venture that you and I are doing? Mm-hmm. So two very distinct questions, and I'll let you handle either one.
Okay, well, initially with myself and staying grounded, I work with such powerful people, such powerful personalities, energy, that I really, it's never about me, it's about them. And it's a process. And I have to basically get inside of them, inside of their energy, inside of their head, and pull out our end result of why we're collaborating. With, I think, the majority of every celebrity or client that I have, the more significant their personality, the more insecure that they are. And they are genius at masking the facade of their image. But what they see on stage in the mirror is not necessarily what I see or we see. So it's really about giving them ease when we first meet and start collaborating, get their confidence, let them know that I will protect them and their personality and their image. And then it really is starting to build and find what gives them confidence. You know, I work with such amazing people, from like a Beyonce to whoever, and as talented as they are, as seasoned as they are being on stage, they have insecurities. They have panic attacks right before that moment hits. And even though what I do seems very superficial, you know, the frosting on the cake, it is the facade. It is their protection, their coating. And it's something that, it's why I do what I do. The superficiality is fun, but it is finding what makes somebody secure, what makes them feel comfortable with themselves. And there's a power in that. And once you make that connection with somebody, you bonded, you have a bond. And that's sort of what really kind of energizes me.
I wonder if you realize to what extent you're so different from many designers out there that create this illustrious fabric of armor around other celebrities.
Well, I think, you know, I met every designer under the sun, in one way or another for whatever reasons. And I bonded again with certain designers. And then others, I realized that to them, they become the celebrity. They want this, they want the spotlight, they want the celebrity. So immediately with whoever they're working with, there's conflict, even though it may not be apparent. But even if the celebrity you're working with has 75% of the spotlight, but you want 25% for yourself, your energy, your focus changes. I've never been that person. I'm
not. What is unique to your atomic level identifier, a term that Dinis and I've used probably across 4 podcasts now? What do you think is your unique experience, which makes you the ultimate background guy in a world of so much front ground energy?
I think
what's it about you?
Well, I'm really, I'm a very sensitive person. I've always been. And I can feel when somebody is whatever, when they're uneasy, when they're sad, when they're happy, when they're, and I know I'm a pleaser. And I you know, I love animals, you know, and that is my balance. And there's such a very primary bond when you do that. And I think it brings humanity down to that level. I think life can be that simple. It is going back to basics, blocking out all the noise, you know, focusing on who you're with. And I think once you can tap into that in yourself, blocking out the noise and focus, there's a calm, an inner peace that happens. And
are you sure you haven't been listening to our other podcasts about fantasy bubbles and noise? Because unbelievably similar to all the concepts we've been talking about. Okay, so, but back up for a second. You're a sensitive person. I know that. You have this special gift about reading people's energy. You always ask, Amrita, how are you doing? Even as my mom was sick, you always tapped into that before we started our workday, right? How did you get that? Did you get that because you're born with it, or were you a middle child? Let's really drill this thing down.
Yeah, I have a younger sister, and we're quite different, she and I. You know, it's wild. When I first met you, I saw your creativity. Like there's something about your thought process, your mind, you know, and we were introduced through a friend on another project, and things didn't necessarily, you know, work out with the team that was being pulled together, but somehow you and I found each other in that. And we were able to block out the noise and find, you know, focus on similarity and find each other. And I think those building blocks are what happens in life. Like your life can go farther. You can be happier. You can be more fulfilled if you're able to focus on that. And it's something I know, you know, with my DNA, I am a certain type of person, but I think each of us can study ourselves and become more productive, happier, more fulfilled.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, Dinis, and this is where you can ask both of us questions. What I found when I started working with Mark is this is a person who's extraordinarily busy. Things pulling him in multiple directions, celebrities calling him, and he's very much the protector of these people. He's their Buddha, he's their guiding light. And to make the room in this long line of customers, to make this room to say, Amrita, proactively, you can show me another parallel path to business and creativity, I find remarkable. You know, I'm blessed to be able to capture that from Mark, but I just wonder how he did that, what motivated him, because I come across so many people who just let the busyness take over their life, their mind, their self, all that kind of stuff. And how is this person, Mark Zunino, able to cut through the clutter and figure out what's important? I mean, I still, it's mind-boggling to me.
Well, it's funny because I see that in you, and that's why I think we connected. I think also I've been doing this for so long that at the beginning, I was a different person, even though I didn't realize it then. I was more eager to please, which clouded my willingness to observe and listen. And I really, the more I worked with individuals, but the more I worked with bigger celebrities who had the clutter and the people around them and being pulled in every direction, I had a limited time to zoom in, focus on them, and pull it out. And so it forced me to clean up my techniques to be able to do that with people, because I needed to get something in order for myself to be creative, operate, and work. And I knew I had a limited time with them. So I really had to focus and learn how to find that nugget that I could pull out.
Amazing.
I have a question. Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is very dear for me as well, although I'm more in the technology world. In the last years, I work a lot with actually fashion designers, and actually I think probably one of my most famous moments was when I had an interchange with Jean-Paul Gaultier. We was completely drunk. But one of the things that I found out is the humanity behind all the personalities. And I think on that, I kind of love what you said, Mark, because in the end of the day, it's the DNA of people. In the end of the day, of course, these people have, and all of you guys have a fantastic background and experience, but we are all humans. We have all strengths and weakness. So within this, and picking on what Amrita said before, what has been, like you said, you are very sensitive and you like to please. I'm a bit like that as well, although probably with my business world, it's not so easy sometimes to keep all of this. But how do you cope with this balance between sensibility, creativity, as well, trying to balance the way between pleasing and then as well keeping being an excellent professional? Because I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges we're facing right now.
Yeah. Well, I think, the bottom line for me, being a business owner and doing what I do, is whatever it is I do, I have to be successful and I have to make money or I'm not able to do it. So I really have been able to, sort of find what is going to make my process, successful. So I've really been able to, so like I'm working with somebody right now, a major celebrity. She's getting married, and she called me. Well, she's Broadway, she's television, she's film, she's everything, and she's very seasoned, but she's very nervous. And I am, and so she told me that she's been approached by 3 designers working on her wedding. It's going to be photographed globally. Is wanting me to join forces with 2 other designers and go through a process. She will end up picking 3 dresses, but I'm finding out in her head, she has the personal approach. If it's her wedding, she wants to be happy, look beautiful, but she also is promoting this for her brand, for herself, for her image. She's going to make money off of this. She sold exclusivity rights to magazines for the wedding. She's making millions of dollars off of her own wedding. So as much as it is creative, which it is, as much as it is personal as it is, it has to be profitable for me, in turn as well. I need a purpose to make money off of it to exist. But what makes it happen is that you can't fake it. If you fake it, it doesn't work. It's got to be actual. You've got to hit that nail on the head. And so, that is where I know I find the balance of fulfilling my creativity, doing what is genuine and in my heart, but knowing that I can sustain a business and employees and their families and everything with my choices. You
can't fake it. I think that is our that's another soundbite we've got, man. You can't fake it. So let's talk about the creative process, Mark, that you and I have been in. When you first walked into my studio, I thought, okay, 2 months, we're going to create this. I do very Indian specific art for Pier 1, for Walmart, all these things. And our collaboration is very much to take the whole thing geometric, to do the abstract, to do the things that people are pushing the envelope in their home, their bedroom, their tableware, the Mark Zunino, Amrita Sen unique style. I thought, okay, it's going to be like 2 months, right? But then what I'm realizing is that you and I are both drilling into the problems of certain patterns mixing, and it's taking a lot more time than we both thought. Now, I'm okay with it because I understand that the creative process, even if it takes a year, it is, you got to put the hard work in. But I'm always sensitive, thinking, oh, am I wasting Mark's time? And I don't want to impose on his time. So let's talk about that, because I think both you and I are into the very process of doing
totally.
The work.
But I think this is what's working, is that I'm the same way with you. Like I'm wanting, so twofold with my approach with you. I'm wanting this work. I'm wanting it, I'm excited about it, but I don't want to waste your time. But I know in order for it to stick and mean something, it has to be right. We are at the foundation of what it is we're building. If we don't build it on an extremely strong foundation, it's not going to work, or it's going to fizzle out. It won't have longevity. So we're planning, we're seeding this project, and this is the most important time to plant those seeds and water them and give them the proper light and to do everything so they grow and root and are strong. Then as you go up the ladder, it gets easier.
Yeah.
And so this is why even, like we're working on, coloration and prints and whatever. And with anybody that I work with, some people don't get it. It's superficial. Why do we, I want to focus on something else. Why that?
Yeah.
It's a building block. It's uniqueness. You're finding your own harmony. You're finding, what makes you different in the world. We're trying to create something as simple as it is, whether it's bedding or kitchen or whatever, that it makes a difference, because the world doesn't need one more of the same. They need something that's different. At least that's what people gravitate to. It's something that's a little unique, a little different, finding your specificity.
Yeah. Dinis, just to give you an idea of what goes on when Mark and I are in the design studio together, we're both running our other businesses to make sure we keep the lights on. And then every 5 minutes, he and I go back in and literally cut the clutter and zoom in on why this specific blue doesn't match with this very specific Pantone gray. Yeah. And we're able to automatically just shut off everything, despite he's getting 5 phone calls, I'm getting 5 phone calls, say that blue and that gray are absolutely not going to work.
Yeah.
So it is fascinating how the human mind, I guess, particularly in the set of a collaboration, could be manipulated and clayed and sculpted to simultaneously do a commercial enterprise and do a creative enterprise.
And we are basing it also off of innate energy, our emotional response to things. We see something, even by happenstance, we create a pattern, a coloration, whatever, and immediately we're like, oh my gosh, I love it. Go with it. So it is a process, and it's a feeling. I mean, you really have all your senses involved to what it is you're doing. And again, going back to clients that I work with, celebrities, whether you're a singer, whether you're an actor, whether you know, whatever it is, you're tapping into senses that they have that I may not be built the same way or feel the same senses, but I see it in them. So our common thread is that emotional, visual, whatever connection. What's amazing with Amrita is that you wear so many hats at any given moment throughout your day. So she literally can, you know, cut with the graphics in this and go to something that is, you know, meditational music or something that's to me, it's similar. It's all the same, but I can tell for most people, they're like, you're bouncing all over the place, and you're not. You're taking Amrita energy and dividing it into the world that you have around you and to the needs of that world. And I think that's an end result for most people, want to get to that peace of mind that they have that division, but are able to be genuine with their projects. You know, again, not faking it.
Yeah, well, actually, what does help me, and Dinis, we should get into your questions because I know you're itching to ask, is what helps me in that, trying to get to that end result, is thinking about something else that's existing out there and not thinking about myself. Whatever it is that is existing out there, whether it's the emotions of other people, whether it's the art in and of itself that exists like almost as a living, breathing being, whether it's kids, whether it's the children of the world, whether it's all the artists of the world who don't have what we have, don't have the abundance we have, that very much helps me constantly say, okay, what's important here? What's important in this 5 minutes that I have to dedicate to music or to dedicate to art? What's really the important thing? And it's a tool, right? But I know people have the tool that's really worked for me is not to think about myself at all.
Yeah.
Because whenever you start thinking about yourself, you're like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, I mean, for you know, in dealing with this, nobody will ever feel the pressure or the emotional turmoil of what you just went through with your mother dying of brain cancer.
Yes.
But you still kept everything else going. And that's where, like, I was very aware of not wanting giving you the space you need emotionally, everything. And us having not known each other that long, though I feel like I've known you forever, it was understanding that process. And where I could see you are like me in that you compartmentalize the things. I can see the bond, the love you have for your family, your mother, your all of that. I mean, even at your home, it's all around. But you also have the intensity of the projects you're working on, of what you're focusing on. And it is, I can see where being able to keep working in that fashion tranquilizes you. You know, it eases your mind because your mind is able to still release, you know, whether it's worries, obligations, whatever it is that you had, you're able to hit all of that, which in turn calms you because you aren't just, you know, sitting, freaking out, spinning your wheels. You're actually accomplishing things.
Dinis, I know you've got a bunch of sound bites here, so.
Yes. I think, well, it's very inspiring, and I share a lot of the ideas. Of course, I'm not into although I grew up in textiles, I didn't go for you. But I want to touch one of the parts of your story, Mark, because I think it's interesting for what you and Amrita just mentioned, and I think the wealth of characters that you have. And I think any creator has this kind of different wealth of experience and knowledge. But one of the things that is interesting is that your career, Mark, was partly when you had the chance to interview the legendary film and television designer Nolan Miller, that led to an apprentice and ultimately a full-fledged career in fashion and so forth. So can you tell us about that experience? Because I think it's interesting, because it's a bit like finding your moment or your atom moment in a lot of ways. So I would like to hear that.
You know, it's funny because my original background was architecture. I was studying architecture, and that was going to be my world. So when I started in fashion, Nolan Miller is a globally known but a major Hollywood designer. He was, and when our paths crossed, and I was asked to interview with him. I thought I wanted to meet him. I knew his significance, but I didn't think I'd get the job. Nolan was 6'5", grand. I mean, polished, but that wasn't who he was initially. He started off in Burkburnett, Texas, had a very, troubling life and past and whatever. When I met him, I saw the facade. I believed the facade. I believed the image, the Hollywood image. I believed all that stuff. And the more I started working with him, then I eventually partnered with the company, took over the company, is because I understood him, the scared little boy that wanted to leave his, tumultuous upbringing and had a fantasy that he wanted to live, but he made that fantasy reality. And once I met him, I believed the facade, but once I got past that, I saw how fragile he was. And there's a bond because I could sympathize with that. And especially in Hollywood, especially when you're in front of the camera and doing all of these things, working with major celebrities. So once we made that bond, again, there was a realness to what we were doing. Hollywood can be very superficial. Celebrities, all of it. It also can be fleeting. You're hot one moment, you're not the next. And to have longevity, like a Meryl Streep, there's realness to her. And so it's not like if I'm dressing her, it's not just a gown for a red carpet or for the Oscars or whatever. It's a career, it's a career choice. It's an achievement. She's trying to say something on the red carpet. So it's tapping into that. And with Nolan, is sort of, and I hate to use this word, but as fake as I thought he was at one point in Hollywood, I was able to get past that and find the realness and find the fragility of personality, ego, all of that. And that is also what has sustained a career like Nolan's in fashion. That's what sustained an actor like, from Renee Zellweger to whoever. It's once they tap into their realness and they're not, because I think a lot of celebrities come to Hollywood with an idea. Everybody wants success and they want stardom, but when they're not focused on internally what's making it happen, because that on camera is what connects with the viewer. It's that connection that makes things real, that makes things successful. Even if you're successful or you have a good run and then you hit a dry period, for some people, they think it's over. It's not. You need to refocus, find your focus, reconnect again and go forward. And that is, it's like a little warrior. That's where you're teaching yourself to persevere and to keep going. Nolan had that because the odds were against Nolan of ever achieving the magnitude of his success, but he did it. And there were times that he stumbled and fell, and that the world, wasn't in sync with him. There was a film festival, there was a fashion festival we did in Lithuania. It was by Vogue magazine. It was Paco Rabanne, Givenchy, all these major designers. And Nolan, because he was equally known in Hollywood, we went and did this. And the most amazing thing was there was one designer in particular, Paco Rabanne, who I met, bonded with, and I saw his fragility. And he approached what he did from 100% creativity, being very real with what he did. Even half of the clothes that he had, he said, a lot of people hate these. They don't get it. I get it. It makes me happy. And when a woman puts it on, she understands what it is and what it's doing. And she bonds with that fashion piece because it creates an energy within her that then makes her feel good. And that's what I was like, oh my God, you are the type of designer that I want to learn from and work with. So it's that process. And that's why, going back to anyone with anyone's career, I think everything is similar. I think we're, like human creativity, whether you're designing furniture, a house, clothing, fabric, a production of something, it's the creative process is the same. Once you're you internalize your thoughts enough to understand the fabric that weaves that creativity together.
So I have one question more on that, because I think it's really, you work with a lot of different generations of artists. and you had the privilege of working with the legendary divas of Hollywood. It's really some of impressive names. And of course, as a fan of Hollywood myself, it's always something. So one thing, my question here within what you're talking, because for people listening to us, and I think you can read the biography of Mark, but you're talking about from Elizabeth Taylor to Sophia Loren. Okay, to say less, they don't need to say more because there's nothing bigger than this. But my question is dealing with these personalities, but as well you dealt with like four. Well, not four, but at least 3 or 4. Well, actually, if you look at Elizabeth Taylor, it's 4 generations of artists and designers. But dealing with these personalities, but as well, especially dealing with the complexity, because it's complex to deal. One thing is to deal with Elizabeth Taylor, or when she was alive, but to deal with a young generation artist, and you actually kept innovating as well and renovating, and that is quite difficult because, like you said, and you mentioned about. Especially probably one of your mentors or most mentor, Nolan, is that this implies a continuous work or reinvention. And then it brings as well to, I know, the work of Amrita, your work as well, Mark, both in design, but as well in people, because this is about complexity. So I want to touch that because that is probably one of the most complex things that makes a career successful or a business successful, is these relationships and the way you nurture. But of course, we're talking about some of the biggest divas in history. So I would like to hear a bit about how you dealt with this.
You know, it's funny because that's the foundation of my business and why I've stayed successful. Because for one thing, there were, you know, back when I started, there was a television producer, Aaron Spelling, who produced like Dynasty and just a ton of shows. He was very prolific. And he had said to me at that time, whatever it is that you do in your life, you need to find your formula. Find your formula that works and never stray from that formula. You can tweak it, you can do what you need to, but be true to your formula once you find a formula that works. So when you're speaking like with Sophia Loren, you know, Elizabeth Taylor, anybody, you go through a Beyonce, Angelina Jolie, up and young coming actors and actresses that I work with now, there's still that common thread. They have to find their formula so for me, nothing has changed. Sophia Loren, focused, seasoned, talented, true, beauty, everything. She was real. That formula that she had, every generation wants that same thing. They want to figure out that formula of beauty, style, you know, something that creates an icon. And so what I didn't realize when I started working with Nolan, I automatically entered an A-list level that I really at my young age wasn't aware of. I entered a level of Sophia Loren, Elizabeth Taylor, you know, Catherine Deneuve, like everybody. Over time in working, I unknowingly learned that formula and that process. Over time, as time marches on, other people that wanted A-list stature or just hit A-list stature wanted to sustain it. So they knew I dress A-list people, go to Mark, let him dress you. And so over time, you know, that's where, like I said, an Angelina Jolie, you know, whoever came to me because they wanted what the lineage had that I worked with. They wanted to learn what was it? When I hit that red carpet, I want to be not just look beautiful. I want to end up in all the magazines, and not just in the United States, globally. I want to become a fashion icon. How do I do it? So it's a learning process, but it was able, you know, being able to achieve a level that, again, going back to what we started with earlier, it wasn't about me, it was about who I'm working with. I understood that. And so it was, you know, allowing someone who entered that level to rework their package, their facade, their mind, to stay at that level. Because whether you're a global celebrity, whether you're a globally known socialite, whatever it is, there is a similarity. There is something to creating that persona. And I think if you're able to step back and observe what it takes, you know, it's funny because I say, like, even if we're creating perfume, a scent, different smells emote different emotions and energies. And this is a very kind of crude way of saying this, but for celebrity, for wealth, for money, there are certain scents that take you that smells expensive, that smells, whatever it is. There are certain colors that when we're designing fabrics that just look sophisticated. The color combination is sophisticated. So it's bringing someone to that level and teaching them those things. But that is what I think I was able to tap into that sustained my career. And and then one other thing, that working with women, and then as women get older, nobody wants to get old. And I was told once that if you design for older women, which at that time I did, you're never going to get younger women, because younger girls don't want to wear or shop where their mother or grandmother shop. And I never listened and I never bought into it. And I just did what I did. Over time, what ended up happening, I got the daughter and I got the granddaughter, because I kept focusing from a creative point of view on progression, modernizing, keeping things going. Nobody wants to be left behind. So when I was dealing with the mother, who was then turned into the grandmother, once her daughter came in and her granddaughter, what I was doing was cool. Not to leave the grandmother behind. She'd say, well, I'm too old to wear something like that. No, you're not. I would show her how to take a motorcycle, like a leather motorcycle jacket. This is how we can make it appropriate for your age. But for the daughter, this is how we can make it appropriate for you. And to the granddaughter, this is how we can funk it out and make it hot for you. And so doing this over time, I was able to span the generations. And I've ended up with the fathers coming, who usually foot the bill, spending a lot of money, and said, do you know, this is the first time my girls and my family have ever had so much fun shopping and being together. And they said, they go out shopping in stores, nobody takes the time to work with them, so they don't have this experience. But it is what has helped me sustain a business, grow my business generation from generation.
Wow, that's inspiring and so beautiful. And I love that attention to people, but as well attention to the craft of the business and to the innovation. So one question I have for you, Mark, is, of course, you've been having a fantastic career, and I'm sure you're going to continue getting from success to success. But one thing that I'm particularly interested in, as you know, the fashion industry and the haute couture is going through a big challenge right now with all the areas of innovation around fabrics, around organic and things like that. How do you see this new? Now I'm talking more from an industry perspective, and as well, even your choice of fabrics, your choice of design related with the different dimensions of the fabrics and so forth. So I would like to hear your opinion on that, because of course we are going right now for a huge sustainability movement in the fashion industry, and of course that the humanity part of yours, but I'm sure you kept innovating on that. So I would like to hear your opinion.
I've always, in the high-end luxury level that I'm at, we use natural fibers and fabrics, silks, and pure organic things. But the world is so conscious of sustainability and everything being green, and it's here to stay. It's not going to change. We need to build on that. So I am completely aware it is going to happen. Nobody can stop it. We need to understand it, learn it, and move forward. The glitch is always, with mankind, money, affordability, not being, being priced at a level that the mass can consume it. And so right now, that's the challenge, is finding, for me, I know that's where business is going. I know where it has to go. It's where the world is going. We need to save our planet. We need to do this. But I know it's only going to work once it's affordable to the masses. And the masses look to the elite, or at least for fashion sense, and to see what's, in and happening. And then how can they, translate what they're learning there to their own life? And they usually can do that through affordability. So keeping the cutting edge of fashion and the progression, but then finding price points that will work. And so right now, the challenge, I think, is with the manufacturers of sustainability. I'm working right now with a company that has created an antibacterial fabric weave. And it, no matter how much you wash it, it sustains this antibacterial quality, but it's very limited in coloration, in type of texture. So they're trying to expand the company. It's also expensive. So it's like, how can we achieve all this, bring the price point down, build in more variety? But what we're doing right now is putting it in t-shirts and things that are affordable, are understandable, and just getting the consumer used to it, understanding what it, you look at an antibacterial fabric compared to a regular, t-shirt, the consumer really doesn't know the difference. You have to educate them and bring them along through the process. So education is going to be a big part of the, masses understanding sustainability. It's not a trend. It is going to be a mainstay in our society.
100%. And I think this is right now as well a challenge, because we have so much challenge in terms of when it comes to sustainability. So you touch education. I want to be conscious of your time. I know that Amrita had to leave because of personal reasons, but I'm very excited. So I would like still to stay a bit more with you. So in terms of education, if you can make a bit more. So you mentioned that a very strong moment in your life, of course, was finding your mentor that changed your career. So one of the things that I would like to hear from you is, how do you see the young generation of designers? Are you working with them? You have as well your apprentice, and as well people listening to us, they want to follow your footsteps.
It's funny because right now with this major celebrity that I'm talking about, I as of last night, I'm working with her for her wedding. There's two other designers that are going to make this team of 3. One of them is very young, and from a design perspective, to me, I don't see quite the evolution, the sophistication, the whatever in his design yet. The energy is there, and he will learn and polish his craft as he gets older. And that's what I'm learning and understanding, because I'm also learning from the age difference that he and I have, what people are gravitating to his things, even though the level of design isn't there yet. It's his energy. And that's the thing that I'm aware of, that I never want to lose in myself. You need to keep that energy. And so I'm learning that an individual will sacrifice something to get a product that, like her wedding gown. Even if the design quality isn't there from the dress that he would design, the energy is there. The attraction from society to that energy, to that newness, that freshness, it's there. And then for me to sustain what I do, then that is my competition. That is, I have to understand the progress of where design is going. And that's where I'm fashion is changing, and it's changing permanently. And I am forever chasing that. All of us, every fashion designer, will continually chase the ball that keeps evolving. And some of us will fall off because we won't be able to keep up, and others will find a way to keep up and keep rolling. And I never want to be thrown off that ball. I want to stay on that ball. And so even for a young designer, they may not understand that yet. They may think they've arrived and they've figured it out. No, you haven't. Because in 6 months, it's going to change. In another 6 months, it's going to change. It's going to be never changing, ever changing. So you're going to have to really understand what it is you do and keep progressing. The problem with Nolan was, when I started with him and when I ended up taking over the company, Nolan hit a roadblock and couldn't, not that he couldn't progress anymore. He didn't want to progress anymore. He was happy with the life he had, with what he did. He didn't understand fashion anymore. He felt disconnected from it, and he surrendered. He said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't ever want to hit that spot. I want to keep rolling. And I think there's an excitement in that, in, furthering your mind to what's next. And as much through the pandemic and as crazy as the world has been right now, so much good has come from it. So much change, so much awareness, and there's no going back. For people that are like, when's it going to be normal? When are we going to go back to? We're not. It's changed. The vibration of life has changed. Get on board and let's keep looking forward.
Well, that's I want to wrap up probably. I have one last note because we passed 1 hour more or less, but I could go for hours. But I think in terms you said I love the metaphor of keeping the ball rolling, which I think something that I kind of identify myself. And actually I tell my team that that if you don't keep in the process of learning, the process of changing, yeah, first of all, you cannot be working with me because I will not stop. But second, as well, it's a bit challenge because that is kind of one of the biggest challenge of our societies because things are changing so fast. So within this keep the ball rolling concept, which is very dear for me and Amrita in the sense of defining your atom, and that will be probably the last question. Let's say if you would have like around 5 things, can be 3, 5 or more, but a small number. What was the most important things? And you touched a couple of them, but I'm sure they can summarize is what were the things that help you keep the ball rolling and keep that wonderful energy and inspiration that you have?
For one thing, it's finding your passion in whatever it is that you're doing. Find the passion. It is staying alert and aware. Even if you don't like something, be aware of it. Understand it. Don't just absorb the things you like. Absorb everything. And I think it's, again, it's always looking forward too. Even I have a tendency to look back. I have a tendency, I'm a worrier. I have to continually pull my, head forward and look forward. And I think when the energy from the passion, when the awareness of what is changing is there, and then two, you putting your fingerprint on it, every day I think, how am I going to make a change? How am I going to make a difference? The world does not need another designer that designs the same old whatever, especially like when I'm doing bridal. It's white. It's the most simple thing that happens. Mostly every girl gets married. How can I make a difference in the bridal world? Every day, every season, every year, it's a white dress. And so I think if you're aware of of that, being aware of your surroundings, staying focused and passionate about what it is, you have to believe in what you do. You really do. And I think those are that's the key to success. At least it's the key to happiness. You will be content.
Wonderful. Mark, I can only thank you. I have a lot of stuff more, but like Amrita said, this is the first of a lot more. I want to thank you for this wonderful masterclass and inspiration, and as well this wonderful energy. I understand why these people want to keep working with you, and I love the fact, especially as a wrap up of the interview, the fact that you put 3 generations working together, and that is wonderful.
And there's an energy in that too. Like it excites me to see the generations getting along and being creative and excited with each other. It makes the grandmother the queen. She's so proud that my granddaughter thinks I'm cool. So.
Now that's what I think we need to nurture that more. So I think people listening to us, please listen to Mark. And Mark, thank you. We'll put a lot of information about your website, about your social media profiles, and I'm sure that everyone can learn. And I think join us in the next one. And Mark, really a huge honor and pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much.